Hey there nation, welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander CheapSkate, and we are back with another edition of the Underhive Wars. There's a series of Necromunda battle reports, and this is for our Dominion campaign for sector number 7, and this is the beginning of round number 5. So just like we do with each of the single rounds that we do for our campaign, we give you an update about the campaign map, as well as the current standing of all the gangs and who will be fighting in this 5th round. So we're going back to our hex map here. As you can see, we have our colors laid out. Blue is for Cardor, red for Orlok, yellow for Delac, green for Van Saar, orange for Goliath, purple for Escher, black for Genestealer Cults, brown for Chaos Cultists, this turquoise color for Precinct 13, which is an Enforcer gang, as well as this purplish color here, magenta color, for Section 8, our Venator gang. So, a couple things to think about before we start talking about our campaign map. The rules for the Venator gangs have just been released with the new Book of Perils rules that came out. So originally, Sector 8, which is Section 8, which is located here in hex number 27, they don't receive territories originally to the old Venator rules from White Dwarf magazine. The reason they got paid is that because they got paid out by taking over reputation points. You took your reputation points times by 10, that ends up being your pay. Same thing with Precinct 13, because Precinct 13 is also located up here in hex number 4, and they were a Venator gang as well. We just called them Forces is all. Well, a new rule book is rolling out called the Book of Law, which is coming out for Necromunda for the Necromunda campaign system. So, based on whatever that rule set will be, we'll adjust the rules for Precinct 13 accordingly. And just like what we said before, for Section 8 now, because they are a Venator gang, we are now letting them take over territories now for this next round. So as you can see here, it's going to be kind of rough for them to start off with because they only have one hex of territory, same thing with Precinct 13. But, you know, and there's the breaks, I suppose. So let's go ahead and talk about the way the map is laid out. So first of all, starting off with Escher, these are the guys here in purple. They own hexes 10, 11, 16, and 22. They own a settlement, a stinger mold sprawl, some waste, as well as a synth still. The black hexes are represented by Section 8, the Genestealer Cults. They also own 4 pieces of territory. Hexes 1, 5, 6, and 12. They have a mineworks, a settlement, a rogue dog shop, as well as a refuge drift. In the middle in yellow here, these are the territories belonging to the Delac. Those are territories for hex number 13 as well as 18. They own a settlement as well as a narco den. Going up here to the top, these are the orange territories owned by the Goliaths of the Pelagos Land Kings. They own hexes 2, 3, and 7. They own a Promethean cache. They also own some tunnels as well as a settlement. The brown area here, this is for settlement number hex number 14. That is a settlement for the Chaos Cultists. An interesting side note, my buddy Odette decided to re-roll to get rid of his old gang. The Dustman decided to replace it with a brand new Chaos Cultist gang, the People Eaters. So because that will be featuring those guys in this round as well. Then we have Caldor right here, which is the leader right now in territories. That's my gang, the Jury. They have 5 hexes. Hexes 9, 15, 21, 20, and 26. They control a settlement, a slag furnace, old ruins, a settlement, a second settlement, as well as a archaeotech device. Now to also in green, we have the Van Saar. These guys own hexes 19, 25, and 30. There's a marked out in green. They own a settlement, a corpse farm, as well as a sludge sea. And then finally we have the Iron Sights of House Orlok. They control hexes 24 as well as 28. They control a settlement as well as a drinking hole. And that pretty much makes up the territories right now for each of the gangs on this one. So, currently, here is our current lineup for round number 5. So in round number 5, we have all of our gangs right now. All 10 of them are located for their places from 0 to first, from 1st to 10th place. So starting off in 1st place, that's going to be the Red Faction. They're currently in the lead right now at 22 reputation points, followed by the Jury of House Caldor. They're in the lead. They're 2nd place at 18 reputation points. Surprisingly, in 3rd place are the Pelagos Land Kings of the House Goliath. They got 16 points on this one. 4th place is the Killjoys, located here. They're in 4th place at 15 reputation points, followed by number 5, which is the Precinct 13, which is located right here. They have 13 reputation points as well, followed by 6th place, 911 of House Van Saar. These guys have 12 reputation points. In 7th place, we have the Iron Sights of House Orlok. Let's see here, there we go. Those guys have 11 reputation points, followed by Section 8, which is located here, which oddly enough, they have 8 reputation points, which is kind of cool. Followed by 9th place, the Sleeping Dogs of House Delac. Those guys have 7 reputation point, and the People Eaters, which are a brand new gang because my buddy Odette decided to start a new gang instead. Those guys are in 10th place with 1 reputation point. So now let's go and talk about who will be fighting what in this round. So in round number 5, the very first matchup will be between 911 of House Van Saar versus the Killjoys. Battle number 2 will be the People Eaters, the Chaos Cultists versus Section 8, the Venators. 3rd battle will be the Sleeping Dogs of House Delac versus the Iron Sights of House Orlok. After them will be fight number 4, which is the red faction of the Gene Stealer cults versus the Pelago Slan Kings of the Goliaths. And then finally, Precinct 13 of the Enforcers versus House Cawdor, the Jury of House Cawdor. So that's pretty much the campaign loadout, as well as the current standing right now for round number 5 of our campaign. And once we get done with round number 5, we will officially hit the midpoint of our campaign. Alright, so now that we got the introduction information out of the way for round number 5 of our Underhive Wars Turf War campaign for Sector 7, let's go and talk about battle report number 21. This one is fought between my two friends Lady Domina as well as Warlord Ace. Lady Domina is bringing the Killjoys of House Escher, while Warlord Ace is playing 911 of House Van Saar. So this is the 21st battle reports of our current Dominion campaign. We're the first battle report of round number 5. We just showed you guys the current rankings of all the gangs for our current campaign, as well as the territories that they held. So this one is a tunnel skirmish scenario and is fought between these two gangs. So we're going to play some background music real quick. If you want to see exactly what each of the gangs is bringing, go and pause and take a look at your own leisure. With that being said, let's get this battle report on a roll. Alright, so let's go and talk about the scenario for this one. This one is a tunnel skirmish. As you can see below, my friends are playing on the tombs on this one. The objective is to take out as many of the enemy as possible. Every single person that you take out of action, you earn points for. You earn 3 points for leaders, 2 points for champions, as well as 1 point for everyone else. Whoever has the most points by the end of the scenario wins. For the rewards, when it comes to credits, the winner earns 2d6 times 10 credits, while the loser earns d3 times 5 credits. For experience, each fighter who participates in the battle report earns 1 experience point, and the gang leader of the gang who scored the most points earns an additional experience point. For reputation, for the winner earns 2 points reputation, while each of these gangs also earn 1 point reputation for fighting against each other for the very first time, and if you lose this battle report or you bottle out, you lose 1 point reputation as well. So you can see there, my friends are playing on the tombs on this one. My friend Warlord Ace is deployed on the far side of the table. My friend's Lady Domina is deployed on the other side of the table. So with the scenario rules over with, let's go and talk about the deployment for this one. Alright, so let's talk about the Killjoys real quick. On the left-hand side of the tombs, on the far left-hand corner, that is Trixie. She's a ganger who's armed with flak armor, a last gun, chainsword, last pistols, as well as frag grenades. Right next to her on the right-hand side, that is One Shot Blonde, who's another ganger with a flak armor, last gun, last pistol, as well as a drop rig. And right behind her, that is Nocturna. She's a ganger who's got flak armor, a last gun, stiletto sword, as well as Kimself as well. And that makes it their deployment on the left-hand side for the Killjoys. Right in the middle of the table, of course, is Lady Domina's main fire team. It's basically her juvie posse, as she likes to call it. Leading that in the very back, that is Furia, who's a gang leader. She's armed with mesh armor, a combo weapon with a bolt rifle, as well as a needle rifle. She's got a chainsword as well as a last pistol. And because she has commanding presence, she can activate 4 fighters at once. So she has 4 juvies in this squad together to kind of like lend some support. On the left-hand side, that is Marlowe. She's a juvie's armed with flak armor, last gun, stub gun with dum-dum bullets, as well as a drop wig and stun gun. Harlow, which is the girl right next to her to the right, she's armed with flak armor, last gun, stun gun with drop rig, as well as dum-dum bullets, and she's also got a shock whip. And then finally, she's got Lucky Lucy taking point. She's a juvie who's armed with flak armor, last pistol, as well as a shock whip. And then Sister Christian, the far right-hand side, she's armed with flak armor, a last pistol, as well as stiletto knife. And that makes a deployment here in the center. And making up her right-hand deployment on the right-hand side, that is Raven. She's a ganger's armed with flak armor, a combo weapon with a bolter, as well as a needle rifle, as well as a chainsword. And right behind her, that is a champion, that is Mad Donna. She's armed with mesh armor, heavy stubber, last gun, last pistol, a drop rig, as well as a suspensor, so she can move as well as shoot with her heavy stubber, which is really important for her on this one. And that pretty much makes up Lady Domina's deployment here on the left-hand side. I'm sorry, the right-hand flank. Alright, so make up the left-hand deployment for 911 in this far left-hand corner. Leading up in the front, the short guy, that is Soldier. Soldier is a ganger's armed with a body glove. He's got flak armor, a last carbine, as well as a last pistol. And the guy right next to him on the left-hand side, that is Tugs. He's the bigger of the two. He's equipped exactly the same way with body glove, flak armor, last carbine, as well as a last pistol. So that makes up my friend Warlord Ace's far left-hand flank. In the center of his deployment, he's got two kill squads right in the middle of his deployment area. Over here on the left-hand side, that guy's name is not Maddox. His name is Ricochet. That's his name. He's armored. He's a ganger armored with body glove, mesh armor. He's got a suppression laser as well as a power knife. And right behind him, that's the gang champion Chopper. He's got a body glove, flak armor, as well as a rad cannon, as well as a last pistol. He's also got the marksman skill as well. And that makes up the left-hand center of the deployment for 9/11. And occupying the center chamber for his deployment area, that is Tough Shakes in the back right hand corner. He's a ganger's armor with a body glove, flak armor, last pistol, as well as a power knife. And he's leading a two-man little juvie posse. Up in front, that is Rune Dog. He's a juvie with body glove, flak armor, twin last pistols, as well as rad grenades. And right next to him is FNG, who's got a body glove, flak armor, as well as twin last pistols as well. Now the third juvie, Mega Man, he is currently suffering from an eye injury, so because of that, he will miss out on this scenario. And finally, on the right-hand side is the last two members of 9/11. Up in the front, that is Maddox. He's a ganger who's armed with a body glove, flak armor. He's got a rad gun as well as last pistol. And right behind him is Busta9, the leader, who's equipped with a body glove as well as flak armor. He's got a combo weapon, which is a last rifle with a plasma gun as well as a last pistol. And he has the Overseer ability. And that pretty much makes the deployment for 9/11 on this one. So with the deployment over with, we go directly to the top of turn number 1, and my friends roll off for initiative to see who goes first. Alright, so we start off at turn number 1 for House Van Saar on this one. So my friend Warlord Ace activates Busta9. Originally uses Overseer ability, which is a double action. And what that does is it actually gives you two sets of actions that you can use for one member of your gang. In this case, he put the Overseer ability onto Maddox. So Maddox spent his first turns of action doing a double movement to close the distance between him as well as House Escher. Then for his third action, because now we're on to the second set, he moves up a normal distance and then he takes aim with his rad gun and cuts loose with it as well using the flamer template. He manages to hit both Raven as well as Mad Don right there on the right hand side, hitting with a wave of electromagnetic radiation in order to cook them alive basically. Unfortunately for my friend Warlord Ace though, he didn't really do much damage to these ladies. All he managed to do is put 2 flesh wounds on them, so now they are toughness 1, which makes them really easy to injure. All he really has to do now is actually put another wound on them or another flesh wound, and they're both out of action, but for the most part though, his shots are pretty much ineffective on that part. So in response, Lady Dama then activates Mad Donna, who then also activates Raven real quick. So because that Raven charges directly across the battlefield, charges directly into Maddox, engaging him in close combat as well. And at the same time, she also moves up Mad Donna, does a double move over to the right-hand side, so that way she can shoot down later on once Maddox has been dealt with by Raven. And that pretty much makes up her action. Now she does try to fight Maddox after charging into him, because you get an automatic free fight action when you charge in. Unfortunately for her though, she just rolled a bunch of 1s for Lady Domina, so because that Raven didn't really do much against Maddox had nothing against Raven, as crazy may sound, because when it came to the rune roll, he rolled a 1, Warlord Ace did, so because of that, not much really came out of it. So because of that, they're kind of still locked in close combat. Meanwhile, here on the right-hand side, my friend Warlord Ace then activates Chopper, who then also activates, Ricochet. First of all, he does a double move with Ricochet, heading over to the center chamber there on the right-hand side, on their side of the deployment area. And then, of course, Chopper moves up with a double move right there at the intersection, so that way he has a good long shot right down the axis of that corner with his rad cannon. Unfortunately, he will not be able to shoot because he spent a double movement, but he does take kind of a cover position, so that way he can cover the left-hand side of the battlefield. Lady Domina then activates One Shot Blonde, who spends one of her actions to move up her normal movement allowance, and then takes a pot shot with her last gun directly at Chopper. And not only does she manage to hit Chopper, she also manages to put a wound on him as well. Now if you notice, he's not laying down. My friends kind of made some mistakes during this battle report. They forgot to lay down, people got hit to show they got pinned, so I do apologize for this one. Like I said, I'm just taking photographs at this point. I'm not really playing in this game because this one's fought between my 2 friends. But if you're wondering why he's still standing and why the other 2, Mad Donna as well as Raven, were still standing up in charge force, because they kind of made a rules mistake. But, you know, that happens every once in a while. So starting to push his movement over to the left-hand flank, Warlord Ace then activates Soldiers. Soldier moves up his double movement allowance into the center chamber on the left-hand side of the tombs. Looks like my friend Warlord Ace is pushing his forces on the left-hand side and also kind of supporting it there on the right-hand side, so that way he can start taking the offensive. In order to thwart Warlord Ace's advance on the left-hand flank, Lady Dama then activates Nocturna. Now Nocturna moves up her normal movement allowance and then takes a pot shot with her last gun against Chopper. Unfortunately for her though, she missed her shot, so not much really came of it from that point. Continuing on this advance, Warlord Ace then activates Tugs. Tugs also spends a double movement to catch him right next to Soldier, so the 2 of them are now in the center left-hand chamber on the left-hand flank of the tombs. And once again, in order to thwart the advance of 9/11 on the left-hand flank, Lady Dama then activates Trixie. Trixie does a normal movement allowance to her right behind Nocturna. She also takes a shot with her last gun against Chopper as well, but unfortunately for her, she also missed her shot, so not much really happened to suppress the left-hand advance of 9/11. So for the remainder of the turn, my friend Warlord Ace then activates F&G. He does a double movement towards the center chamber of the middle of the tomb, so that way he can put some pressure towards the center. And Lady Domina does exactly the same thing with her Juvie squad led by Furia. She activates Furia, who then also activates all 4 of her Juvies. Sister Christian takes point. Right next behind her is, what's her name? Not Marlowe. Harlow? Oh, sorry, Lucky Lucy, there we go. And then right behind him is Marlowe, and then also Harlow, and then finally you got Furia as well. And they do all 5 of them take a double movement to hit directly to the center chamber, so that way they can start pushing the advance against 9/11. And for the rest of the action phase, Warlord Ace deploys his last 2 forces. He sends a Dog to support F&G towards the center area of the battlefield, as well as Tough Shakes right behind him as well. And that pretty much makes up the action phase for this one. So with the action phase, you go directly to the end phase. And it's during the end phase that my friends realized they made a mistake when it came to being pinned with Chopper, so because of that, Warlord Ace does lay him down to make it look like he actually got hit against. So that way he has to spend another simple action the next turn getting back on his feet again. So with that being said, that pretty much ends turn number 1 for this one. Alright, so over at shop, end of turn number 1, so that way you can see exactly what's going on the battlefield. As you can see, 9/11 has a line defense stretching across the left-hand flank of the tombs over to the center portion as well. At the same time, Lady Domina is pressing her advance on the left, center, as well as the right-hand sides of the tombs. She's got One-Shot Blonde, Nocturna, as well as Trixie making their way towards Chopper, towards the center there. You can see Tugs and Soldiers trying to intercept that on the left-hand flank. She's also moving forward with her 4-man Juvie squad with Marlowe, Harlow, Lucky Lucy, as well as Sister Christian, with Furia and support heading towards the center chamber. At the same time, you can see Mad Donna as well as Raven pushing on the right hand side as well. Meanwhile, most of the 9/11 guys are located right there along that top central axis there on that whole line there. You can see Tug Soldiers in the far left hand chamber and the center left hand chamber. You can see Chopper as well as Ricochet, F&G, Dog, as well as Tough Shakes occupying that center area. And then on the right hand side, you can see that Busta Nine's way in the back and all the way up in the front, that is Maddox. And that pretty much makes up the turn number 1 on this one. So with turn number 1 over with, my friends go directly to turn number 2, and they both roll off for initiative to see who goes first. Alright, so it takes us directly to the top of turn 2. House Escher gets the initiative on this one, so Lady Domina activates, what's her name? I think it's Sister Christian? Yeah, Sister Christian. Sister Christian charges forward directly into F&G, engages him in close combat as well, and then of course the rest of the Escher Juvies as well as leader kind of lean him back there for support. Now it's kind of a crazy type of scenario because what ended up happening is that Warlord Ace has Lady Domina in a bottleneck type situation, so even though F&G is outnumbered 5-1, they can only attack him one at a time because that little arrow access point only allows 1 ganger to pass per phase. So because of that, he's actually kind of a good defensive position. Not to mention, Lady Domina pretty much blasted her rolls with her combat rolls. She kind of failed a lot of her attacks. So because of that, F&G kind of stands his ground and doesn't go anywhere. To add to the frustration as well, F&G actually stands his ground. He does fail to do any of his line of his attacks against Sister Christian, so because of that, 2 of them are kind of locked together in close combat with 9/11 on one side of this chamber and the Killjoys on the other side of the chamber trying to get to each other and trying to kill one another. So that pretty much makes the action phase here in the center. Meanwhile, close combat over here on the far right-hand side of the flank between Maddox, Raven, and now Mad Donna. Mad Donna also charges forward as well, so in order to engage him in close combat. And unfortunately for Lady Domina and Warlord Ace, they just kind of flipped their rolls on this one. Either they were rolling 1s to hit or 1s and 2s to wound. So because of 1s to wound. So because of that, not much really happens between both groups. Maddox still stands his ground. Raven as well as Mad Donna are still engaged in close combat, so not much has really changed for the most part. Meanwhile, on the left-hand side of the battlefield, One-Shot Blonde gets activated first. She does a normal movement allowance to that little intersection where she's looking at it, trying to take cover. She does take another pot shot against Chopper, but unfortunately for her, her shot fails to land. At the same time, Tugs comes up as, not Tugs, Soldier also moves up to the end of the corner, opens up with his last carbine, but unfortunately for him though, his shots kind of fail as well, so not much is happening between the crossfire between these 2 gang members. Adding to the frustration is that Nocturna is then activated. She also moves up her normal movement allowance to open fire with her last gun directly at Tugs, and almost at point blank range, but unfortunately for her though, she failed her shot as well. Now Tugs on the other hand, not so much. He moves in right behind Soldiers, takes aim with the last carbine, managed to get off 2 rapid fire shots with the last carbine against Nocturna. And one of them actually wounded her and actually went through. And he managed to put a serious injury onto Nocturna, so now she's laying face down on the ground as well. Which is kind of a bad situation for her to be at, because if any members of 9/11 charge directly into her, they can finish her off with a coup de grace, and that'll be all she wrote. So because of that, things aren't looking very good for Nocturna at this point. So, sensing desperation in the air, Lady Domina then activates Trixie, who moves up right behind Nocturna, and then she takes her frag grenades and pops one, throwing it directly into the hallway where both Tugs as well as Soldier are both located at. So lucky for her, she does manage to land her shot directly right into the middle of them, so because of that, a 3-inch blast template is put right on top of them, hitting both tugs as well as soldiers, but unfortunately for Lady Dama though, she doesn't actually wound any of them. All she does is manage to pin them, so because they're laying on the ground, they will need to spend simple actions on the next turn or to get back onto their feet again. And that pretty much makes up the action phase on this left-hand side. Meanwhile, my friend Warlord Ace then activates Chopper, who then also in turn activates Ricochet. Ricochet moves up his normal moon allowance and takes aim with a suppression laser, opening up with a short burst round directly into Trixie. Now he does manage to hit her, but unfortunately for him though, he wasn't able to cause any wounds, so because of that, Trixie just gets thrown back a couple of inches and she's kind of pinned at this point, and that's all that really happened. So that takes place over here on the left hand side. At the same time, I forgot to mention, he also takes Chopper and backs him up his normal moon allowance as well, because he won't be able to shoot because he's carrying an unwieldy weapon. Meanwhile, for the rest of the turn, as you can see here, my friend Warlord Ace activates his 3 fighters. First of all, he sends Rundog over to the left-hand side in order to support Chopper. He also moves back Tough Shakes a little bit, so that way he's got a better angle onto the center hallway in case F&G loses. He can either counterattack or shoot anybody that comes to the hallway. At the same time, he also moves up his leader, does a double movement, so that way he can get to that main corridor. And that pretty much makes up turn number 2 for this one. So with the action phase over with in turn number 2, we go directly to the end phase. And unfortunately for Lady Domina, she does suffer a critical injury for Nocturna, so because that, Nocturna does go out of action, and she will also need to roll up to see what happens to her at the end of the scenario to see if she survives. So with the end phase over with, that pretty much rounds up turn number 2. So here's an overhead shot of turn number 2 so that we get a better idea what's going on. So far, the Killjoys have pretty much been stopped on their advance on the left-hand flank as well as the right-hand flank, both being shot at by the firefights taking place on the left-hand side, as well as the right-hand side of the combat against Maddox being stuck in one place. At the same time, Lady Domina's attack with her Juvie squad through the center is also being stopped by FNG the Juvie, who's kind of standing his ground and kind of bottlenecking the Killjoys and getting them stuck in that one-pitch situation. So that pretty much makes up turn number 2 on this one. So at the end of turn number 2, we go directly to the top of turn number 3, and my friends roll off for initiative to see who goes first. Alright, so that takes us directly to the top of turn 3 for House Van Saar. My friend Warlord Ace managed to take the initiative on this one, and the first thing he does, he activates Chopper, who then also activates Rundog as well. So you can see in this photo, Rundog does take a movement up forward, but not before Chopper opens up with his rad cannon. Discharges a huge pulse of electromagnetic radiation right on top of Trixie, as well as one-shot blind with a huge 5-inch blast radius. So that part's pretty awesome as well. The only thing that going for Lady Domina at this point is that the rad cannon only has strength 2. However, it does have rad phage ability, which means that if he rolls a 4 up, he can put a flush on any one of her fighters. Now, lucky for Lady Domina, not much damage took place for One-Shot Blonde or for Trixie. They're both just pinned right now. However, she does manage to lose a flush wound onto One-Shot Blonde, and that's from the rad phage ability from the Rad Cannon as well. Now, Rundog does try to open up with both his last pistols as well, but unfortunately for him, though, both of his shots pretty much missed at that point. Alright, so that takes us directly to Lady Domina, who then also activates Sister Christian. Sister Christian does fight against FNG and finally manages to put him out of action, also putting humiliating injury onto him. So because of that, he will lose -1 to his leadership as well as to his cool, and he will go into recovery for a turn as well. So she managed to finish off that Juvie, and then she also moves forward 3 inches of follow through, and as you can see, the rest of the Juvies are falling right behind her. So you have Sister Christian in front, Marlo behind her, followed by Lucky Lucy, then you have Harlow, and then you of course have Furia, making their way towards Tough Shakes, who's located right there in the center of the battlefield. And then the craziness begins real quick. So as you can see here, my friend Warlord Ace decides to use his Overseer ability, which has a 12-inch range, and he uses it directly onto Tough Shakes. So because of that, Tough Shakes will have 2 sets of actions for the action phase. So the first thing it does, of course, is charges directly into Sister Christian and fights her in close combat. And not only does he beat her in close combat as well, he also puts her out of action, giving her eye injury as well, so she loses -1 to her ballistic skill. So because he defeats her, he does of course follow through with another 3 inches and goes directly into Marlo. He then files Marlo as well. He managed to beat her in close combat and managed to put her out of cold as well. So because of that, now 2 members of the Killjoys have been put out of action by Tough Shakes in close combat alone. And since he defeated her, he also gets another 3-inch follow through and manages to go directly into Lucky Lucy. And of course, he engages her in close combat and manages to put a grievous injury onto her as well. So because of that, 3 fighters from the Killjoy have been put out of action. That is Lucky Lucy, Sister Christian, as well as Marlo. All 3 of them being put out of action in just one fell swoop. And of course, he follows through one more time. It gets into close combat with Harlow. So because of that, during the next action phase, these guys will be fighting again in close combat as well. And he just ends up seeing this guy just kind of tearing through 3 Killjoys all by himself, fighting that center axis. That part was freaking insane, just watching that take place. So that's the crazy that kind of took place right there in the center of the battlefield with the Overseer ability. Meanwhile, over here on the right-hand side, the combat between Maddox as well as Raven as well as Mad Donna actually does take a turn eventually. The two Killjoys do manage to wound him, in fact. If I remember correctly, I believe it was Raven that managed to put the wound on him. And when she puts him out of action, he also suffers a grievous injury as well, so he will go into recovery from missing in the next game, and as a result of that. So because of that, he goes directly out of action. So for the rest of the turns, it pretty much takes place here on the left-hand side, since each fighter is only activated one at a time. As you can see in this photo, Trixie as well as One Shot Blonde, they've kind of exited to the passageways to the left and right to get out of the field of fire. You have, as well as Tugs and Soldiers, they both get back on their feet again and move out. At the same time, Warlord Ace does try to charge forward with Maddox, but unfortunately for him, he fails his charge, so he doesn't really go anywhere for the most part. And that pretty much makes a booming here on the left-hand side. So at the end of the turn, we do go directly to the end phase, and the first thing we have to do is take a bottle test. Unfortunately, Dama, she did bottle out with her leader, so because of that, she does lose 1 point reputation for bottling out for this scenario. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that takes us directly to the end of the game, with House Van Saar winning this one. So because of that, 9/11 is successful in the Tunnel Skirmish on this one, so we're going to go directly to the post-game now, because this battle port is officially over. We're talking about exactly what happened to both gangs. Alright, first of all, we're going to start off with the Killjoys. For injuries, they had 4 people go out of action for this scenario. That is Nocturna, Marlowe, Lucky Lucy, as well as Sister Christian. Nocturna originally rolled a critical injury, so because of that, she did die on her way to the med dock in order to get patched up. But because the Killjoys do have a Stinger Mold Sprawl, they can re-roll grievous injuries on these characters, even if they're dead. So because they re-rolled it, so because that Nocturna suffered a grievous injury instead, so she survived. This is the second gang member for the Killjoys that has been saved by that Stinger Mold Sprawl. So kind of a good investment for the Killjoys. Marlowe, she rolled out cold, so she makes a full recovery. Lucky Lucy, however, as well as Sister Christian, they both rolled injuries. Lucky Lucy suffered grievous injury, so she will miss out her next battle report. Same thing with Sister Christian, who suffered an eye injury, so he also has -1 to ballistic skill as well. For advancements, none of the Killjoys advanced at this time. From their territory, their settlement gave them 1 point reputation as well as 60 credits. The Stinger Mold Sprawl as well as the Synth Still both gave them 1 point of reputation to the Killjoys. From the merchants, the Killjoys did earn 15 credits from this scenario as well as 60 credits from the territory, earning 75 credits in total. And in the end, my friend Lady Donna decided to purchase 5 sets of Kim's Synth for Marlowe, Harlow, Lucky Lucy, Sister Christian, as well as Furia, giving them a little bit more staying power in the next combat round. For the reputation, they earned 3 points of reputation from their territories, as well as 1 point of reputation for fighting against 9/11 for the very first time, but they bottled out, so they lost that additional point. That brings their new total reputation to 18 points. Their new record now is at 3 wins as well as 2 losses, and their new gang rank now is at 1,495 points. Alright, so let's talk about 9/11 real quick. So 9/11 lost 2 members of their gang to this combat, Maddox and FNG. Maddox suffered a grievous injury, while FNG suffered a humiliating injury. Both of them will miss out on their next battle report because they'll be in recovery. However, FNG lost 1 to his cool score as well as to his leadership score. For advancements, Tough Shakes actually leveled up to level 2, earning +1 to his weapon skill, so make him even deadlier in close combat now. For their territories, from their settlement, they earned 1 point of reputation as well as 50 credits. Meanwhile, the Corpse Farm and the Sludge Sea didn't really supply them with anything. Now, the Sludge Sea does give them 3 choke gas grenades for each scenario, so that part's kind of cool, but that's pretty much about it. From the Merchant, they earned 90 credits from the scenario as well as 50 credits from their settlement, earning 140 credits total. With that 140 credits, they bought 9 sets of mesh armor for the entirety of the gang, so now all the members of the gang now have body gloves as well as mesh armor, giving them all 4-up saves, which is actually pretty good for these guys. Now, from the 9 sets of mesh armor that they gave to the gang members, they had 9 remaining sets of flak armor. They sold that minus D6 times 10 creds, and they got about 60 credits when it was all said and done. With those 60 creds, they purchased a suspensor for Chopper, so now he can move and shoot now with his heavy weapon, and they placed their 5 remaining credits into the stash. From the reputation, they earned 2 points of reputation for winning the scenario, 1 from their settlement as well as 1 from fighting against the Killjoys for the very first time, bringing their total reputation points now to 16 points. Their new record now is at 3 wins as well as 2 losses, and the new gang rating now is at 1,545 points. So that's good for this one, you guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is invaluable to us as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all these greatest news and news about the hobby aspect of our channel. That's good for this one, you guys. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.